8d12 of psychic damage.
I'm dead.
Me too.
Dude, you're the worst dungeon master.
What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about getting into Hyperborea, what the books cover, and what some alternatives might be if you don't want to pick up all of the books that are out. I will start by saying that the best way in right now is going to be the bundle available on the website, which is Hyperborea.tv. That is going to have 3 books for $100. You get the player's manual, the referee manual, and you get the atlas. So that is really everything you need right there. The player's manual is going to cover everything that you would find in this, and it is also going to have several different subclasses that you would not expect. Each of the base classes, the fighter, the thief, the cleric, and the magician, have several subclasses which are very flavorful and interesting and quite potent. So you're going to get a total of 26 classes here in the player's manual. You're going to get all the spells, all the weapons and equipment. You're going to get all of the races that are available, which, spoiler alert, they're all human, but they're different, I guess, ethnicities. You're going to get the rules for combat and leveling and all of that right here in this book. So technically, if you didn't want to buy anything else, you could use this and then grab a copy of a retro clone like Swords and Wizardry, or you could grab some of your old AD&D 2nd edition books or AD&D 1st edition books, and you could use the treasure and monsters from those, and you could get along just fine. However, I do think that to get the most out of this, you're going to want to dive deep into the world of Hyperborea, not just the rule set. Even though the rule set is an upgraded version of AD&D, in my opinion, some things have been cleaned up, some options have been added to create more flavorful combats. So I'm a big fan of what they did with the changes there, especially the combat options are phenomenal. You're not just going to be saying, I move and attack. You're going to have lots of options and different interesting things to choose from while you're in combat. So the book here, if you buy it on its own, is $50, or you can get the PDF for $12 on Drive-Thru RPG. And this is a very nicely made book. Same thing with the referee's manual, extremely nicely made. And the referee's manual is going to cover everything that you would find in your old Dungeon Master's Guide and everything that you would find in your monster manual. So it's going to kick right off with a monster manual towards the beginning. And then as you go further back into the book, after a little bit of flipping through the monster manual section, you're going to find that it also has a very nice section about the world of Hyperborea. It goes into the calendar, it goes into the flora and fauna, it goes into all of the different geographical areas and the kingdoms of Hyperborea. You may notice these guys look a little bit like they might come from Innsmouth. There's a good reason for that. So this book is going to be about 300 pages. It's a little bit shorter than the player manual, but it is an excellent DM's guide and monster manual. A lot of the monsters in this have a very H.P. Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith vibe to it. Tentacular horrors, the swinish shade, the Thew wagon, so Shoggoth. So you've got lots of different options in here that are going to feed into the world of Hyperborea, and that's going to give you some built-in ways to dive deeper. Also, the magical items are going to have a few randomly inserted science fiction elements because, you know, the Atlanteans were a thing and they had some pretty crazy high-tech stuff. Also, it's got the cosmology of the world as well. But this is an extremely well-made referee manual, and it is also, like the player's manual, $50 on its own, or you can get it on Drive-Thru RPG for $12. Now, if you buy the player's manual and the referee manual together, right now you get basically a free Atlas. The Atlas is a $15 value on its own, I believe, but you can get all three of these books for $100 total from Hyperborea.tv. And it breaks down all of the different sections of the larger map with close-ups, which is quite handy because there is a lot going on in the map of Hyperborea, and it would be easy to overlook parts of it. So that's a nice feature. I wouldn't say that I couldn't live without this, but it is really cool to have, and it's a lot more usable than a huge map that would cover 3 tables. Now, after you're done buying that, you might think, well, there's not much else to buy from Northwind, but you'd be wrong, because they have a great line of adventures. Matter of fact, I have just about all of them. I also have PDF copies of all of these that I have here. The adventures run from $20 to $26, I think, on the high end. This is the newest one. This was released at the same time as the 3rd edition. This is called The Late Trapper's Lament, and it is an extremely interesting Viking-themed adventure that has a little bit of a weird twist to it. That's the thing about these Hyperborean adventures, is that they always have some sort of element that makes them unusual. Also, a lot of these have direct influence from the works of either H.P. Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Howard, or I believe there's some Edgar Allan Poe in one of these adventures as well. I believe, where is it at? I believe this one here has a little bit of Edgar Allan Poe in it as well. You will see Saturn in a lot of the artwork regarding Hyperborea. That's because Hyperborea exists just beyond the rings of Saturn. So it's in our solar system, actually. But these vary from levels 1 through, I believe the highest level adventures in here are for 9th level characters. This is one of the higher level adventures, The Lost Treasure of Atlantis. But they're all written by different authors, and they all have great stories. They all have cool artwork. And more importantly than any of that, even if I wasn't going to play these adventures at all, they introduce a few new monsters usually. And then they also have an entire section at the beginning that is a gazetteer of the region in which the adventure takes place. Very much reminds me of the village of Hamlet for the old Temple of Elemental Evil module that Gary Gygax wrote. And there's a good reason for that. Jeff Talanian, that created Hyperborea, was one of the last folks to actually write for / with Gary Gygax, and it's heavily influenced his style, clearly. But if you have adventure parties that like to go into a town and assert their authority, they're probably going to be disappointed if they come into Hyperborea, because all of the towns in these adventures have fully statted out town guards and basically how they could respond to ne'er-do-wells that are meaning to do harm to their town. So these adventures are a great investment as well. Now you could play your old 2nd edition modules or 1st edition modules or BX modules in Hyperborea, but I don't recommend it because half of the appeal of the game is Hyperborea itself. So you don't want to miss out on what the world has to offer. Now this, besides being some cool artwork, is actually the 2nd edition Hyperborea screen, the Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. This is still available on the website last I checked. It's 20 bucks. Because there weren't huge changes in the rules from 2nd edition to 3rd edition, which we're on now, this is still going to work for your Hyperborean campaigns, and it is a good investment because if you remember Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, it heavily relies on matrices and charts, and this is going to give you those in spades. I think there's like 27, maybe even 30 different charts on this screen. So if you are wanting to get into Hyperborea, you don't have to go crazy like I did. You don't have to even get the great deal that is the bundle, which is a great starting place, $100 for these 3 books. You could simply buy some PDFs, you know, $12, that's 24 bucks, and you have all of the rules that you're ever going to need. All the monsters, all the magic items, the world information, everything right there. And then if you wanted to go a little bit further, you know, this module in paper is 20 bucks, but I think it's $10 on Drive-Thru-RPG. So 24 bucks and 10 bucks. You got $34 there for PDFs, and you can have a ton of fun with this. So Hyperborea is going to be AD&D like you've never experienced before, a much better AD&D. I've heard it described as what D&D probably would have became after 2nd edition had Gary stuck around. And I think that's a pretty apt description. I know AD&D 2nd edition wasn't really Gary's thing. That was kind of taken from him. And so this is going to be like a natural evolution of AD&D and way different than what Wizards ended up doing with it, but still an evolution of the game and a way to get back some of that nostalgia from your earlier years of gaming. Hyperborea from Northwind Studios, and this is a product written by Jeffrey Talanian, a great guy, a man that is very essential to the health of the OSR and somebody that you should be supporting. So if you are interested in getting started, I gave you a few ways to get into Hyperborea. If you've already played some Hyperborean campaigns, give me a couple comments about how your campaigns have gone, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, why you haven't bought it yet. And until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.